I thought separating from Ryan would be my escape. I imagined it would be the solution to everything I felt trapped by over the years. But now, looking back, I feel more lost than ever. My name's Amelia, I'm 34, and I thought I had it all figured out, or at least I convinced myself I did. I was a wife, a mother of 2 young children, living what I once believed was the perfect life with my husband, Ryan. He was a good man, grounded and practical. He never gave me a reason to question his loyalty. But something was off. I can't really explain it. I just felt restless. Maybe bored is too simple of a word, but it's the closest I can come to describing it. Bored with being a wife, bored with being a mom, bored with everything. I started feeling like there was something more I was missing out on. I'd scroll through social media, seeing these women out at bars, laughing at parties, doing whatever they pleased without anyone to answer to. I hated that I felt jealous. It didn't help that my best friend, Karen, would call me every weekend, raving about her new, single life. She was out every Friday and Saturday, partying with her friends, free of any responsibilities, no kids, no husband to worry about. She'd send me pictures with random men, and there I was, stuck in my own life, wishing I was living hers. Ryan never stopped me from seeing my friends, but he definitely had boundaries. He didn't approve of the way Karen and her friends lived. And I get it now, really, I do. They were reckless, living without concern for anyone else. And while I had been part of that lifestyle before Ryan and I settled down, I now realized it was like a distant memory. It wasn't about fun anymore, it was about having the freedom to be who I once was. What I didn't realize at the time was that what I craved wasn't just a break from routine, it was freedom. I didn't want to be the wife who was always at home, the mom who was always cleaning up after everyone. I wanted to feel alive again. I wanted to feel free. So, I started listening to my single friends. They'd say things like, "You deserve to enjoy yourself again," and "Ryan's not going to change. He's too set in his ways." They were right about one thing, Ryan had his boundaries, and I resented them. I hated that he wouldn't let me go out whenever I wanted. But it wasn't that he was controlling, he was just reasonable. He didn't want me out drinking with people who didn't care about anything other than themselves. But I didn't care about that anymore. I wanted to live for me. So, one Friday, I dressed up, slipped into a new outfit, and told Ryan I was going out with the girls. He raised an eyebrow, and I should have seen that as a warning sign, but at that moment, I didn't care. I was ready to be free. He didn't argue. He just told me to be careful. That night, I felt like I was finally in control of my life. I was dancing with friends, laughing with strangers, and letting go of everything. It felt incredible. The more I did it, the more I wanted it. I wasn't thinking about Ryan, or the kids, or anything else. I was only thinking about me. And that's where things started to go wrong. After a few weeks of this, Ryan began to pull away. He didn't explode, but I could sense he wasn't happy. He'd ask about my nights out, and I'd dismiss it like it wasn't a big deal. I was still a good mom, still taking care of the house, wasn't I? But Ryan saw things differently. Then one night, he sat me down and said, "Amelia, I get that you want to go out and have fun, but this isn't just about you anymore. You're a mother, a wife, and we have responsibilities." I didn't want to hear it. I snapped. "I didn't sign up to be a wife and mom forever, Ryan. I'm still a person. I need to feel like I'm not just stuck here, cooking and cleaning every day." I could see the hurt in his eyes, but I didn't care. I was angry that he didn't understand, angry that he wasn't the kind of guy who just let me do whatever I wanted. I wanted him to let me live, and the fact that he couldn't stand the idea of me going out made me furious. I hated that he made me feel like I was being selfish for wanting to have some fun. Looking back, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have snapped at him like that, but at the time, it felt like I was suffocating. The more Ryan set boundaries, the more I pushed back. I didn't want to be stuck in the role he had assigned me, but deep down, I was too afraid to face what I was really doing. I didn't want to admit that I was being reckless and selfish. Instead, I kept going out, ignoring the growing tension between us, and all the while, Karen was cheering me on, telling me I was doing the right thing. "Ryan's too controlling," she'd say. "You deserve to be happy." I kept listening to her, not even realizing I was digging myself into a hole. It wasn't just about fun anymore. It wasn't just about freedom. It was about avoiding the responsibility that came with being in a committed relationship, with being a mother. But I didn't see it. Not yet. And now here I am, sitting in the mess I made. I thought going out and having fun would set me free, but now I'm tangled in a web of regrets, wondering if I've already lost Ryan for good. If you're expecting this story to wrap up with me finally getting my act together, you're mistaken. Not yet, at least. I knew things were getting bad when Ryan stopped asking where I was going. At first, he'd ask questions like, "Who's driving?" or "What time will you be back?" They weren't controlling questions, just normal questions any husband would ask. But gradually, he stopped. "No, be safe." "No, call me if you need anything." Nothing. I convinced myself that meant he didn't care, and if he didn't care, why should I? One Friday, I was getting ready in the bathroom, putting on my makeup like I was preparing for a first date. I had this sleek, crimson dress tucked away in my closet, untouched for ages. Tonight felt like the perfect occasion to bring it back to life. Earlier, Lily had messaged me, "Girl, you better show up tonight, and don't even think about bringing mom energy." I chuckled to myself. No mom vibes tonight, I mused. Ryan had passed by the bathroom earlier and halted when he spotted me. He lingered in the doorway, his expression unreadable. For a moment, it seemed like he might say something, maybe pay me a compliment, maybe ask where I was headed. But instead, he just stood there, arms crossed, silently observing. "You're really going out again?" His voice was composed, but there was a sharpness beneath it. I caught his gaze in the mirror. "Going out? What do you mean, Ryan?" I asked, dabbing on foundation a little more forcefully than necessary. He exhaled, shaking his head slowly. "Forget it. Go enjoy yourself, Amelia. I'm done having this conversation." That should have been my cue to pause, but instead, I let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, maybe you should come with me for once." "Oh wait, that would require you actually liking fun." I wore a smirk, but the words landed more like an insult than a joke. His expression hardened. "No, I just know that fun shouldn't come with a hangover and regrets." Without another word, he turned and walked away. But those last two words, "bad decisions," lingered in my mind. I gripped my mascara wand, staring at my reflection. I told myself he was overreacting, but deep down, I knew there was truth in his words. Lily and her friends had a reputation for reckless choices, flirting with strangers, drinking too much, indulging in things I'd never want Ryan to witness. But I wasn't them. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't doing anything terrible. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Shaking off the thought, I grabbed my clutch and left without another word. The rooftop bar downtown was buzzing, pulsing music, flashing lights, a sea of people dressed to impress. By the time I arrived, Lily was already a few drinks in. "There you are," she called, throwing her arms around me like I'd just returned from an epic journey. "Damn, you look amazing." Her gaze swept over me approvingly before she added, "Ryan's gonna be pissed tonight." As if that were some kind of victory. "Nah, he doesn't care anymore," I lied with a dismissive shrug. "Good. That means you're finally living." That one stung. Finally living, like my life had been on hold until now. Lily handed me a drink, and for a while, I let myself believe her words. I danced, I laughed, I let go. It felt exhilarating. Until it didn't. I got home at exactly 2:34 a.m. I knew because I stared at the time on my phone, feeling judged by the glowing numbers. Slipping inside quietly, I carried my heels in my hands, careful not to wake anyone. The house was dark, except for the faint glow of the TV in the living room. I peeked in and found Ryan asleep on the couch, arms crossed, as if he'd been waiting but eventually gave up. Normally, I would have tiptoed past him, but tonight, I hesitated. Watching him sleep felt different. He looked peaceful, no trace of the frustration or tension that had become so common between us. Just Ryan. I used to love watching him sleep back when we were newly married. Now, it made me feel something I didn't want to acknowledge. It made me feel guilty. I hated it. I hated how much it made me question myself. So, I did what I always did, I ignored it. I went upstairs, changed into pajamas, and climbed into bed, pretending everything was fine. At first, Ryan's shift in behavior was subtle. He wasn't cold or distant, just quieter. No more late-night conversations, no more little affectionate gestures. He still kissed me goodbye before work, still played with the kids, still did all the things a good husband does. But something was different. It wasn't until dinner one evening that I really noticed. I was scrolling through my phone at the table, yes, rude, I know, when I came across a meme, husbands act like they're dying if you ask them to watch the kids for an hour. I laughed out loud. Oh my God, this is so you, Ryan. He didn't even crack a smile. Instead, he looked at me, and in the calmest voice, he said, yeah. Hilarious, Amelia. Then he went back to eating like I wasn't even there. Lily would have called that sass. But it wasn't sass. It was disappointment. After dinner, I put the kids to bed while Ryan cleaned up the kitchen. When I came back downstairs, he was wiping the counter. Feeling a little bold, I asked, "You good?" No response. He just kept wiping. I rolled my eyes and tried again. "Ryan, seriously. You good?" He set the rag down, braced his hands against the counter, and let out a long breath, like he'd been holding it in all night. "Amelia, do you even realize what you're doing?" His voice was quiet, measured. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? He shook his head, like the answer should have been obvious. It means you're playing a game with people who won't be there when it's over. Lily and her friends. They'll move on to the next party. You'll be the one left sitting here, wondering what you lost. I hated how calm he was. I wanted him to yell, to snap, to get angry. At least then, I could paint him as controlling. But he wasn't. He was just tired. "Oh, please," I scoffed. "You think you're so wise, huh? Mr. Perfect. Must be nice sitting on your pedestal while I do all the cooking, cleaning, and raising these kids." I crossed my arms, certain I'd won the argument. But he didn't argue back. He just looked at me like I wasn't making sense. "You're not trapped, Amelia," he said flatly. "You're choosing to be." Then he walked away. That line haunted me all night. You're not trapped, you're choosing to be. I never felt trapped before. But now. Now, I felt stuck in my choices, stuck in my need to feel free. Lily wasn't trapped. She was free, right? No husband, no kids, no rules. But then I thought about the last time I crashed at her place after a night out. Her apartment was a disaster, clothes everywhere, dishes piled high, an air mattress in the living room because she couldn't afford a couch. Lily was free, but her life wasn't as perfect as it looked on Instagram. I didn't want to admit it, but maybe Ryan was right. Maybe I was playing a game I couldn't win. But I wasn't ready to admit that. Not yet. The tension between Ryan and me became something tangible. We didn't fight, we didn't slam doors, but everything felt different. He barely looked at me. Conversations became minimal. And after the kids went to bed, the silence was deafening. I knew he was upset, but I refused to be the one to fix it. If he wanted to be miserable, that was on him. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I still took care of the kids, I still handled the house, mostly, and I deserved to have a little fun too, right? I had played the role of the perfect wife for far too long, so when Lily texted me about the weekend, "Are you out tonight or what? Are we going up to the roof again?" I didn't hesitate. I replied, "Sure, I'll be ready by 9. As I got ready that evening, I wanted to look better than ever, a tight black skirt, new high heels I'd bought for special occasions, even though tonight wasn't one, and my hair neatly styled into an elegant bun. I spritzed on a little vanilla perfume, the one Ryan liked, but not for him. He was in the living room, engrossed in a documentary, headphones on. I walked by him, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor, intentionally slow. He didn't say a word, didn't even glance up. It stung a little, but I just kept walking, head held high, as if I had something to prove. The club was buzzing with life, loud music, packed dance floors, and Lily acting like she owned the place. Within minutes, we had drinks in hand, laughing like teenagers sneaking out. And then came the attention. You know, the kind of looks that make you stand out, the casual bump of a stranger, someone offering you a drink. It felt good. I won't lie, after all the years of being a wife and mother, it was a real high to be noticed again. It made me feel like I was someone else, someone I used to be. That's when I noticed Ethan. He wasn't loud or flashy, didn't have a group of friends around. He was charming, polished, with a warm smile and knew exactly what to say without trying too hard. We chatted for a while, easy conversation, just small talk. He wasn't pushy, and honestly, all I wanted was a conversation, or at least that's what I told myself. When Lily saw us, she nudged me, a sly grin spreading across her face. "Oh, he's cute," she whispered. "Ryan who?" she teased. I rolled my eyes but didn't move away. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache, as if someone had been drumming in my skull. My phone lay on the nightstand, screen down. When I turned it over, I saw the messages. "Ethan, did you get home okay? It was fun talking to you. You're different from the usual type. Let me know if you ever want to hang out." I stared at the screen. It wasn't like I had done anything wrong, right? I hadn't cheated. It was just a conversation. I could have deleted the messages and moved on, but instead, I replied, "Yeah, all good. Last night was fun." His reply came instantly, "Good. I mean it. You're really different." I couldn't help but smile. I don't know why. Over the next few days, it became a routine. Ethan texted, I replied. Nothing exciting, nothing crazy, but it was exciting. It was something new. Something different from all the household stuff. I would check my phone when Ryan was in the kitchen, replying quickly when he wasn't looking. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself I would stop, but I didn't. Then, one night, when everything was about to change, it happened. I was sitting on the couch, staring at my phone, the kids were in bed, and Ryan was upstairs working on a project. I was just texting Ethan, laughing at one of his jokes, when I heard footsteps. I looked up just in time to see Ryan come down the stairs, his phone in hand. His face wasn't angry or sad, just empty, controlled, far too controlled. He stopped at the foot of the stairs and looked at me. "You forgot to log out of the Messages app on the iPad," he said, holding it up. I froze. My heart skipped a beat, but I tried to stay calm. When he looked at the device, I knew it was over. "Do you know Ethan?" he asked, tapping on the screen. "You seemed pretty friendly." My face turned hot. "Seriously? You're snooping through my messages like a teenager." I snapped. "I didn't search," he said calmly, but with a sharp look. "You just left it open, messages coming in, one after the other." I didn't have to look. He glanced at the iPad, scrolling and reading aloud, "You're different from the girls I usually meet." He looked at me again, his eyes steady and challenging. "Tell me how that's not more than just talking." My stomach churned. "What? So now you're mad because I'm talking to someone? You're overreacting." "Talking?" he repeated, as though the word didn't even register. "You're cute. Too bad I'm married." He stared at me. "Explain how that's not more." Now I was on the defensive. "Yeah. And? I didn't touch him, I didn't kiss him. Nothing. Stop overreacting." "You accepted it," he said, his voice colder now. "You don't see it, do you?" "No, I don't see it," I shouted, the anger rising in me. "Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have to go out and feel alive." That hit him. I could see it in his face. He nodded slowly, pulling his mouth into a thin line, as if he were holding back. He studied me. "Fine," he said finally, too calm. "Fine, Amelia." He turned and just walked away. No more words, no signs of anger. The only thing that gave it away was the sound of his footsteps on the floor as he walked away. I stood there for a while, frozen, then followed him. "And now? You're just leaving?" He paused at the door, turned to me. "Yeah, I'm leaving. Do whatever you want, I'm setting you free. Have fun." Then he was gone, the door closing quietly behind him. The attorney stepped inside, positioning himself by the door as if he were security. I straightened up on the couch, my pulse quickening. "What do you mean, grab some things?" "Don't be ridiculous, Ryan." He didn't respond. Instead, he walked straight to the hallway closet, pulled out a duffel bag, and began stuffing it with his clothes, chargers, and anything else he deemed necessary. His movements were deliberate, efficient, like he had done this before. "Ryan, seriously?" I scoffed, standing up. "You're really packing a bag? Over one fight?" He zipped the bag, slung it over his shoulder, and then, at last, turned to face me. The look in his eyes wasn't anger. It was resolve. "I'm done, Amelia," he said, his voice unnervingly calm. "No more arguments, no more breaks. I'm done." I blinked, trying to grasp what was happening. "You're done?" A bitter laugh escaped me. "Yeah, sure. Run away like you always do. You'll be back." He didn't react. No frustration, no rebuttal. Just that quiet, unsettling certainty that made me feel smaller than ever. Then, the lawyer finally spoke. "Mrs. Callahan, you'll receive the official divorce papers on Monday. Consider this a courtesy notice." My heart stuttered. My gaze snapped to Ryan. "Divorce?" I repeated, my voice teetering on disbelief. "You say that like this has been planned?" I searched his face for any flicker of doubt, but there was nothing. "Oh, so that's it?" I scoffed. "You're just going to file for divorce and walk out like it's that easy?" Ryan tilted his head slightly, his tone edged with finality. "Yeah, Amelia. That's exactly what I'm doing." I rolled my eyes, forcing a laugh. "Please. You really think you can just leave with your fat paycheck and I get nothing? We've been married for 10 years, Ryan. I'm entitled to half." He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply strode into the kitchen, grabbed his keys from the counter, and turned back to look at me one last time. "You really think I didn't see this coming?" he asked, an eyebrow slightly raised. I narrowed my eyes. "What the hell are you talking about?" His lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smirk. "I knew you'd slip up. The changes in your routine, the new wardrobe, the nights where you suddenly needed fresh air. You thought I wasn't paying attention. I've been watching for months." He stepped closer, his gaze locking onto mine. "The texts. The friends from the club. The late nights when you thought I was asleep. I was just waiting for you to give me a reason. And you did." My blood ran cold. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. "You were playing checkers," he said, pointing at me, while I was playing chess. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a folded document, and tossed it onto the table. It slid to a stop right in front of me. Hesitant, I picked it up and unfolded it. My eyes skimmed over the text, "Postnuptial agreement." My stomach dropped. "You signed it 4 years ago," Ryan reminded me, his voice eerily composed. "Back when I got that big promotion and we talked about financial security. You were so caught up spending the extra cash that you didn't even read what you were signing." "No," I muttered, my head shaking. "No, no, no. This isn't." My hands trembled as I scanned the document, desperate to find something, anything, that gave me a claim. And then I saw it. In the event of infidelity, the offending party forfeits all rights to marital assets, financial support, and jointly held funds. "No," I whispered, blinking hard, willing the words to disappear. "This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real, Amelia," Ryan confirmed, his posture unwavering. "I had it notarized and filed the same day. Everything in my name stays in my name. The house, the investments, the accounts, all of it." "Ryan," I said, my voice barely a breath, panic setting in. "Come on, we have kids. We've built a life. You can't just..." His stare was unrelenting. "I'm not doing anything to you, Amelia. You did this to yourself. I didn't cheat." I snapped, my voice rising. "Texting isn't cheating. Talking to someone isn't cheating." His expression darkened. "Infidelity isn't just physical, Amelia." His voice was sharp, precise. "You broke the agreement. The details are in black and white. Your opinion on what counts as cheating doesn't matter." I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come. He was right. I had signed it. "Enjoy the freedom you wanted," he said, gripping the strap of his duffel bag. "No husband, no rules, just you and whatever guy you feel like texting at 2 a.m. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. But I stood frozen. "Take care, Amelia," he said as he walked to the door. His lawyer followed. He didn't slam it. Didn't look back. He was just gone. I stood frozen, gripping the paper so tightly that my fingers ached. My eyes fixated on the same line, reading it over and over, as if the words might change if I stared long enough. "Infidelity results in forfeiture of all assets." My stomach twisted. I had thought I was in control, that I was the one playing the game. But Ryan had been watching, waiting. And now, he'd made his final move. Checkmate. I sank onto the couch, the weight of reality crushing down on me. No house. No savings. No safety net. My hands trembled, crumpling the edges of the document as if I could somehow erase its contents. The air felt too thick to breathe, my chest hollow and numb. No tears came, no immediate anger, just a crushing emptiness. How did it come to this? My gaze drifted to the coffee table, following the faded rings left by our old mugs. I traced them absent-mindedly, my mind replaying every careless mistake that led me here, every time I'd brushed him off, every deceitful excuse, every lie disguised as a harmless outing. I had been so certain of my own cleverness, so sure I could get away with it. But Ryan was patient. And patient men are the most dangerous. He didn't lash out. He didn't confront me. He let me dig my own grave, and I had walked straight into it. I had played recklessly. He had played strategically. And now he was gone. No more shared meals where I scrolled through my phone instead of listening. No more lazy Sunday drives where he insisted on taking the wheel because he knew I hated it. The things I once dismissed as mundane were now gaping voids in my world. I looked around the house, our house. The kitchen counter where we shared takeout, the couch where I wasted hours scrolling through distractions, oblivious to what I had. The space felt foreign now, like it had never truly belonged to me. Because it hadn't. I used to tell myself I deserved more. That he was holding me back. That he was the problem. But standing at the edge of the wreckage, I saw the truth. I had been the one chipping away at us, piece by piece. And now, all those meaningless conversations with faceless men amounted to nothing. None of them would be here now. None of them had ever really cared. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought love meant security, that no matter what, there would always be a cushion beneath me. But love isn't a contract, it's a choice, one that demands respect. And I had lost that long ago. Panic crept up my spine. What now? I hadn't worked in years. I had lived comfortably off Ryan's income, spending without a second thought, convincing myself I deserved every indulgence. But now, I had nothing. No savings. No income. No partner. Tears stung at the edges of my vision, but I swallowed them back. Crying felt too easy, too much like surrender. But the truth was undeniable, I had lost. Ryan had outplayed me. He had known exactly how this would end, long before I ever saw it coming. My phone lay next to me, the same device I had used to seek validation from strangers. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over his name. I could text him, beg for forgiveness, plead for another chance. But I knew better. He wouldn't answer. He wouldn't even acknowledge it. Because when a man like Ryan decides he's done, it's final. He didn't need to slam doors or shout accusations. He left quietly, because he had already won. And me? I was left with an illusion, a life I thought was mine but never really was. The home, the possessions, the stability, they were all his. I had just been passing through. I buried my face in my hands, my pulse hammering. I'd have to move. There was no way I could afford this place. I'd need a job, but doing what? Who would hire me, with nothing but a decade-old resume that read, former stay-at-home wife? I had convinced myself I was building a life, but in truth, I had been merely existing in his. And now, I had nothing but the clothes on my back and the weight of my own mistakes. Lying back against the couch, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every choice that had led me here. The warnings I ignored. The lies I told myself. The false sense of invincibility. I scrolled through my phone mindlessly, my thumb pausing over Ryan's name. I knew there was nothing left to say, no words that could undo the damage. But still, I lingered, as if hoping for a miracle. What would I even say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just bored. Pathetic. He had given me every chance, and I had wasted them all. I flipped over to Instagram, scrolling past perfectly curated images of women who seemed to have everything I once wanted. I had envied them. Wanted their lifestyle. But now, all I saw was my own reflection in the black mirror of my screen, stripped bare, unfiltered. And for the first time, I hated what I saw. The doorbell rang, yanking me from my thoughts. My heart pounded. I already knew what was coming. Moving on autopilot, I opened the door. A man in a tan vest, clipboard in hand, offered me an apologetic nod. Lily Callahan. Yeah, I murmured, my throat tight. He extended an envelope. You've been served. I accepted it without a word, shutting the door behind me. I didn't need to open it, I already knew what it was. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the unopened envelope as if it carried radiation. Hours might have passed before I finally unfolded the pages. My eyes skimmed over the legal jargon, but one line cut through the haze. Petitioner requests dissolution of marriage with no division of assets or support to respondent. I read it again. And again. No assets. No support. No safety net. Just me, alone. I folded the papers carefully, setting them down with shaking hands. The house around me suddenly felt suffocating, its walls closing in. Regret thundered in my ears, louder than my justifications, louder than my excuses, louder than anything I had ever felt before. I had thought I was winning. But I had been losing the whole time. The strangest part. I wasn't even angry at Ryan. I was angry at myself. Because I knew better. But knowing better doesn't mean anything if you don't do better. And now I had my freedom. No husband. No security. No future. Just me. I had always claimed I wanted independence. Well, here it was. And it felt like a prison.